Jamaica's opposition leader just declared assets worth over $165 million, but his real story goes way deeper than money. Mark Golding is not your typical politician. While other leaders are caught up in scandals and investigations, this 60-year-old lawyer and investment banker has his financial papers clean and certified by Jamaica's Integrity Commission. His family reported total assets of $165.6 million Jamaican dollars in 2023, which is about $1 million US dollars, and a yearly income of over 70 million Jamaican dollars. But what makes his story really interesting is not just the money. It is how he made it, who he is as a person, and what he wants to do for Jamaica's future. Today we are going deep into the life of Mark Golding, the man who could become Jamaica's next Prime Minister. Let me start by telling you where this whole journey began, because Mark Golding's family background is actually fascinating. He was born on July 19, 1965, at the University Hospital of the West Indies in Mona Street, Andrew. His father was Sir John Golding, a famous orthopedic surgeon who came to Jamaica from England in 1953. The story goes that Sir John was actually on his way to the United States to take a job at the University of Chicago. But when he landed in Jamaica, he fell in love with the island and never left. He became a pioneer in rehabilitation medicine and started the famous Sir John Golding Rehabilitation Center, which still helps people today. Mark's mother is Patricia Levy, whose father was a Jamaican doctor from Westmoreland Parish. So Mark comes from a family of doctors and people who spent their lives helping others. That background shaped everything about him. Growing up on the University of the West Indies campus in the 1970s was a unique experience. Mark says he was surrounded by progressive thinking and the anti-apartheid movement during his teenage years. But he was not some sheltered rich kid. He loved dancehall music and would go to sound system parties like Jah Love and Kilimanjaro. He spent time in inner-city communities in Augusttown and Hermitage. He got exposed to all sides of Jamaican life, from the university professors to the people struggling in the ghetto. That mix of experiences made him understand Jamaica in a way that many politicians never do. His education was top level from the start. He went to Mona Prep as a young boy, then moved to Campion College for high school, where he played cricket and represented the school in the Sunlight Cup competition. He was a left-arm orthodox bowler and also batted. Then he went to England to finish his secondary education at Marlborough College, the same boarding school his father attended. After that, he got into Oxford University, one of the best universities in the world, where he graduated with first-class honors in law. That is a huge achievement. Most people who go to Oxford are happy just to graduate. Mark graduated at the top of his class. He then came back to Jamaica and attended Norman Manley Law School, where he won the prize for being the most outstanding student of his class. He was not done yet. He got a Commonwealth scholarship and went back to England to get his master's degree in commercial and corporate law from the University of London. This man was collecting degrees like some people collect sneakers. In 1990, Mark was admitted to the Jamaican Bar and joined Hart Muirhead Fata, one of the most prestigious law firms in Jamaica. He specialized in corporate finance, capital markets, mergers and acquisitions, which is basically the most complicated and high-paying type of law you can practice. He was not doing criminal defense or small business contracts. He was handling multi-million-dollar deals for major companies. For 3 years, he built his reputation as a brilliant corporate lawyer. But then something interesting happened. In 1993, Mark teamed up with two other young businessmen, Christopher Daring and Peter Bunting, who he knew from Campion College. Together they started Daring, Bunting and Golding, which became known as DB&G. This was Jamaica's very first privately owned investment bank. Before this, all the investment banking in Jamaica was controlled by big foreign banks. These three young Jamaicans said, "We can do this ourselves," and they were right. DB&G became hugely successful, handling major deals across the Caribbean. They were involved in privatizing government companies, helping businesses raise money by selling shares, and advising on mergers between big corporations. The business grew and grew until 2006, when the Scotia Group, which is one of the biggest banking groups in the Caribbean, bought DB&G. That sale made Mark and his partners very wealthy men. But Mark could not stay away from the investment business. In 2010, he got together with some of his former DB&G colleagues and started Proven Investments Limited, another investment company that is now listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. This means regular people can buy shares in it. Over his career, Mark has also served on the boards of major companies like Grassi Kennedy, Bank of Nova Scotia Jamaica, Kingston Wharves, and Caracris, which is the Caribbean's first credit rating agency. He was making serious money and had influence across the entire Jamaican business world. Now let us talk about his personal life, because this is where you see the real Mark Golding. In 1990, the same year he became a lawyer, he married his wife Sandra. They have been together for 35 years now, which is rare for any successful person, especially a politician. Sandra is described by Mark as his rock, the solid foundation of their family. They have 3 children together, 2 daughters named Tasman and Jessica, and a son named Benjamin. All 3 of his children are adults now, and all of them live in Jamaica. Mark became a grandfather recently and has a granddaughter who is now over a year old. He talks about fatherhood and grandparenthood with real emotion, saying that being a grandfather is even more joyful because he gets to truly treasure certain moments without all the pressure of raising young children. Mark is big on family values. He says he came from a small but strong family, and it helped him achieve everything he accomplished. He tells young men that if you build life with a compatible partner, the sum of the parts is greater than the individual parts. You get strength from being in a solid relationship. He and Sandra made it a point to prioritize family time when their kids were growing up. They took to vacations every year, one in the summer and one around Christmas, usually going to the country by the sea. Mark loves music of all kinds, and during those car trips to the countryside, he would teach his children old songs and introduce them to different types of music. He says those early years are crucial for emotional and intellectual development, so they made sure to be present parents when it comes to his lifestyle today. We actually know quite a bit because Jamaican politicians have to declare their income and assets every year to the Integrity Commission. In 2023, Mark and his family reported total income of 70.7 million Jamaican dollars. This included 31.9 million from salaries, 1.8 million from investment securities, and 36.9 million in other income. That other income was a big jump from the year before when it was only 2.4 million. In 2022, they also had 56 million in real estate income, which Mark explained was from selling a property. Their Jamaican assets are worth $165.6 million, which includes 111 million in securities, 25 million in business investments, 10.8 million in cars, and smaller amounts in savings accounts and life insurance. They also have US dollar assets worth just over $1 million US, including real estate in Florida valued at $140,000, life insurance worth over $200,000, savings of $115,000, and vehicles worth $86,000. Their total liabilities are only 1.3 million Jamaican dollars, which means they owe very little debt. So what does this tell us? It tells us Mark Golding is a wealthy man, but he is not billionaire wealthy like some politicians try to pretend to be. He is comfortably well off from a successful career in law and investment banking. His assets are mostly in investments and securities, which makes sense for someone with his background. He owns cars worth about 10 million Jamaican dollars, which could be luxury vehicles, but nothing crazy. He has real estate in Jamaica and Florida. He is financially secure, but he is not flashy about it. The most important thing is that his declarations are certified by the Integrity Commission, which means they checked everything and it all looks legitimate. This is a huge deal in Jamaica right now because Prime Minister Andrew Holness has had his declarations under investigation by the Integrity Commission since 2021. The Commission raised concerns about unexplained financial discrepancies and over $470 million in transactions involving connected companies. Holness denies any wrongdoing and is fighting it in court, but his declarations are still not certified. Meanwhile, Mark Goldings are clean and certified every single year. Mark's political career started later in life compared to many politicians. In 2007, when he was 42 years old, then Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller appointed him to the Senate. He served as opposition spokesperson on industry and commerce. People wondered why a successful businessman and lawyer would get into politics when he was already making plenty of money. Mark says it goes back to his upbringing and his father's example. His father came to Jamaica and dedicated his life to helping people through medicine and rehabilitation. Mark felt that same calling to serve his country, but he wanted to do it through politics and policy rather than medicine. In 2011, the N won the general election and Portia Simpson Miller named Mark as Minister of Justice. This was a big job for someone relatively new to politics. As Minister of Justice from 2012 to 2016, Mark made his mark in a major way. He was responsible for getting 121 acts of parliament passed during his four-year term. But the thing he is most famous for is leading the charge to decriminalize marijuana in Jamaica. Before Mark's work, you could get arrested and get a criminal record just for having a small amount of ganja. Mark pushed through the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act in February 2015, which decriminalized recreational use of marijuana and promoted scientific, medical, and religious uses of the drug. The executive director of the Drug Policy Alliance at the time said Mark showed skill and courage in providing leadership on a controversial issue, and that Jamaica leaped to the forefront of nations in embracing just and sensible reform of cannabis laws. This was bold leadership on an issue that many politicians were afraid to touch. In 2017, Mark won a by-election to become the Member of Parliament for South Street Andrew. Then in 2020, after the IN lost the general election badly, the party needed new leadership. Mark announced he would run for president of the IN. On November 7, 2020, he defeated Lisa Hanna in the leadership election, getting 1,740 delegate votes compared to her 1,440 votes. The election had 96% turnout among delegates, which shows how important everyone thought it was. People praised Mark for running an upstanding campaign focused on issues rather than personal attacks. At 55 years old, Mark became the 6th president of the IN and leader of the opposition. Since becoming opposition leader, Mark has been very active in challenging the government. He speaks regularly in Parliament, gives public addresses on important days like Independence Day and Emancipation Day, and travels around Jamaica meeting with people in different communities. In his Independence Day message in August 2025, Mark delivered a strong critique of the Andrew Holness government. He said national productivity has dropped by over 20% since 2007 and economic growth is only crawling at 1% annually. He pointed out that foreign direct investment has collapsed to less than one-third of its 2016 levels. He revealed that 55% of Jamaicans face moderate to severe food insecurity. He criticized the education system for failing students, with over 30% leaving primary school without basic literacy and numeracy skills. He said infant and maternal mortality rates have actually gotten worse compared to 30 years ago, which is shocking. He accused the government of deliberately weakening oversight institutions, like the Integrity Commission, and creating an alarming creep toward more autocratic tendencies. He said young Jamaicans are fleeing the country in record numbers, not because they do not love Jamaica, but because what is happening at home cannot meet their daily needs and cannot carry them forward to fulfill their dreams. These are strong words, but Mark backs them up with data and specific examples. Some critics say he focuses too much on winning arguments and not enough on offering practical solutions. A recent Jamaica Observer article criticized him for attacking the government's recovery package from international financial institutions after Hurricane Melissa, saying he was more concerned with scoring political points than helping the country move forward. But his supporters say he is doing exactly what an opposition leader should do, which is hold the government accountable and point out when things are going wrong. Mark has also been vocal about constitutional reform. He wants Jamaica to become a republic, which means getting rid of the British monarch as head of state. But he also insists that Jamaica must replace the Privy Council in London with the Caribbean Court of Justice as the final court of appeal. Prime Minister Holness wants to do these things in phases, dealing with them separately. Mark says no, they must be done together as a package deal. This disagreement has caused tensions between the two leaders. In October 2025, Holness invited Mark to Vale Royal talks on constitutional reform. Trying to restart the conversation, Mark made himself the shadow spokesperson on constitutional affairs, showing that he is taking personal responsibility for this issue. In September 2025, Jamaica held a general election and Mark was confident the IN would win. He told reporters he expected a good result and that the work he had done over 4.5 years to rebuild the party and let Jamaicans know who Mark Golding is would pay off. He was re-elected in his constituency of South Street Andrew, but the IN lost the overall election. The ruling Jamaica Labour Party under Andrew Holness won again. This was disappointing for Mark and the IN, but he remains leader of the opposition and continues to push his vision for Jamaica. What we know for sure is that Mark Golding is a man of substance. He has academic excellence from Oxford. He has business success from building investment banks. He has political courage from decriminalizing marijuana when others were afraid. He has financial integrity with certified declarations. He has family stability with 35 years of marriage and 3 successful children. And he has a deep love for Jamaica that drives everything he does. Whether you agree with his politics or not, you have to respect the journey he has taken and the principles he stands for. The story of Mark Golding is far from over. At 60, he is entering what could be the most important phase of his career. The next election could be his moment. Jamaica is facing serious challenges with crime, economic stagnation, food insecurity, brain drain, and institutional decay. The country needs leaders who have both the vision to see what needs to change and the skill to make it happen. Mark Golding believes he is that leader. Time will tell if Jamaican voters agree. Stay tuned because Mark Golding's story is just getting started, and his impact on Jamaica's future could be historic.